And we're back, and today we're doing the Arboria map. I looked it up, it turns out Arboria is an Italian name. Well, according to Google. We'll see how it works out. Now we just want to see first how this differs from a normal map. Now, here is the starting biome. It's the forest biome again. That's pretty standard. The only real difference here between this and the normal Terra start is that you don't have any slime biomes. There's no slime biomes at all. However, in comparison to the verdant maps, you do actually get ice biomes. And ice biomes are important because they do actually have wolframite, which allows you to get tungsten and thermium, so at least that's back. But without the slime biomes, you have no gold amalgam, which means, well, yeah, no overheat bonus for anything until you get your hands on steel. The closest thing you're going to get to an overheat bonus is steel, and that's not exactly the easiest thing to get. Barring that, it plays pretty much the same as the verdant map set, excluding the slime biomes, of course. As well as that, you've got your salt biomes and all the rest. Now, a quick vacuum of everything so that we can see the geysers and vents on the map. Anti-entropy nullifiers are back because we've got cold biomes, which is good. Another thing that's back is, well, actually, is the oil biome. So the oil biome's back in place as well, so at least you have a decent amount of oil to draw on. Also, water is still hugely common. I've got a cool slush, I've got a water, another water, I've also got a salt water, another salt water. There's well over 10 kilos of water on this map, and there's also a regular steam vent and a cool steam vent. With the new patch, they've balanced steam vents. Steam vents now actually have a decent output. I installed a mod just so I could figure these numbers out without having to put them through a calculator, but basically this regular steam vent, it used to output maybe 50 grams a second. We're now at 700 grams a second on average. That means they're actually, well, not a hugely useful supply of water, but you can, well, that much hot steam can be fed into a steam turbine. So a little bit of power, a little bit of water, they actually have a use now. Oh, and cool slush geysers have been nerfed in the most recent patch. They've basically roughly halved the output of them, so you're not going to get as much water and cooling out of them. It kind of needed to be done. They were stupendously powerful. They're still good, they're just not as stupendously good as they once were. So, as far as I can see, this map set Arboria, it's lots and lots of water. You're going to be farming. We're going to be doing all of that, no problems. I'm just going to jump in and give it a shot. It seems to be, yeah, pretty close to the Verdant map set. Not too much changed. For map modifiers, I'm going with small boulders and metal rich. That's basically the biomes won't have changed. Everything should remain as normal. From what I can see, there's a lot of modifiers going on that are actually just built into other maps. The Verdant map seems to have, I think it's called irregular oil. So the oil is scattered all over the map as opposed to in the oil biome. So when you get an irregular oil modifier, it's basically just taking the map generation traits of the Verdant map and just including that in your map. I don't know what happens if you get irregular oil and you actually include that in a Verdant map. That might actually be a bit odd. Now, on the recommendation of some of the people, well, someone in the comments whose name was a bunch of numbers, I've decided to go with 2 diggers. So I'm going to start with 2 diggers and 1 researcher, simply because this should allow me to expand faster and it really opens up my options for hiring. I can basically have anyone be a gopher at any point. So we'll just fire this up and see how it goes. First thing, let's pause this and let's have a quick look, see where our water pockets are. We got one over here, one over here. That looks to be it. So how much space we got this side? Lots of space that side, decent amount that side. Yeah, let's just go left. Ladder in the usual place, just avoiding the water pockets so I can go straight up, straight down and get all my buildings in place. As always, your first 2 things you want to get is get some beds up and get some toilets up. So access to water and just a little bit of space for your bedrooms. Priorities as well, because I always forget them. Weebay and Avon, you're both into digging, and Stringer is going to be research. Now, they are going to be doing research, but for the time being, I'm going to minimize their digging. They're basically going to be my dog's body until I find a replacement. But eventually they will end up in research, just not just yet. We want to get all our digging done as quickly as possible this early on, and we want to take advantage of it. Look at the speed of that. Okay, actually, we're probably going to get some bathrooms up in time, so yeah, let's do that too. And there we go, bathrooms. Let's see if I can actually get this all finished before the end. Oh, they're running out of oxygen down there. They'll be fine. They're almost done. Okay, I set some of the things down here to priority 6 just so they'd get done a little bit faster. I think we're actually going to get toilets and bedrooms all done straight away. Kind of nice. Yeah, definitely recommend 2 diggers so far. We'll see how it plays out long term. Now, I'm just going to skip forward through most of this early basic stuff. The only thing I want to comment on is some people say I dig too much. I shouldn't dig out so much space so I can keep more oxygen pressure. The main thing I'm rushing for right now is I want to get hard digging for my dupes so I can get out of this biome. These dupes, both of them have bonuses to digging, and that actually translates over to skill gain. They gain more experience if they're digging. So the longer these dupes dig for, the more experience they get, which means the faster they'll get the skill points and the faster I get out of my starting biome. And even after that, I don't consider cracking up or removing tiles to be much of a hindrance. You're usually going to have enough oxygen to fill space. Trying to keep your base really tight and small so your oxygen doesn't leak out means you just don't have enough oxygen, and your problem is not that your base is too big. Your problem is that you're not making enough oxygen. Anyway, I'll skip this forward a fair bit. So, first dupe choices available. We got a flatulent and a mouth breather, so definite nose. But this one's just got pacifist, which means, yeah, they're perfect. +3 strength, +3 tidying. They'd make a good dog's body. So, boom, hired. Now, I have not put anyone into science yet. I haven't even built the science facilities. I've simply been hollowing out as much of the map as possible. This is a slightly different tack to my normal approach. And another good thing is there's a whole bunch of algae up here that I can gain access to the moment I get +1 in digging, which means oxygen is not going to be a problem. The new bathroom facilities are finished, so I can actually demolish these old ones and put in a liquid tank over here. Yeah, I've just been running through the basics. This is my same standard design, nothing crazy going on. There's no point redoing everything for these. This map is only going to be played till about cycle 40 to 60, depending on how long it takes me to get petroleum up and running, or ethanol up and running. We'll just skip forward a little bit more until I've got some science in and we're ready to actually do some science. For research, it's just straight into food again. There's no need to change that. That's just going to be standard for pretty much every map you get involved in. Well, so far we'll see how some of the later ones work out. Um, Now all I'm doing is basically going to start hammering at research, getting a farm up here, but in all fairness, the calories are going crazy. The reason being, well, these dupes can excavate at an absolutely ridiculous rate. In fact, I have almost run out of dig commands. One moment. So yeah, everything at priority 3 that I don't really care about too much. I do want to get this excavated when possible, and I do want to excavate down here. Turns out I'm going to be able to get out of my biome down through here, sneak through this area, and I should be able to get into this part in here. In fact, I could gain access to algae right now. This is going to make oxygen so much easier. I don't know if this is normal, but yeah, I can sneak in here and get algae. And I was looking up here, I could actually sneak in through this here. I could actually build a ladder straight up from here. And then I could cut my way across in and get access to rust and salt right now. Actually, bleachstone as well, and there's salt up there. I could basically gain access to this biome right now without any upgrades to my skills. So even though my dupes don't have the skills to have +1 digging, on this map, there's at least 2 options I have for getting more oxygen straight off the bat. Can they dig through that? That's igneous rock, igneous rock, igneous rock. Actually, oh no, that's granite there. Never mind. Yeah, I'll just skip it forward a bit. There's not really much that's going to be happening for it a little longer. So we have managed to acquire the skills to definitely exit the biome through anywhere we want. So Weebay and Avon are straight up able to take on anything they want when it comes to digging now. That means I can get up here and okay, I still won't be able to get in and see what's in that. There's actually some sort of vent or something here. Oh, it's 4 tiles tall, so it's a vent. It's not actually some sort of one of the squatter watery ones. Whatever it is, we'll find out soon enough. But that gets me access to some algae there, and I'm going to gain access to some algae down here, actually. We're just going to cut straight across and take that. Boom. Once that happens, we can actually set up just well, a few electrolyzers and we're done. For power, I'm actually going to try the wood burners. I've decided, you know what, I've checked out the numbers, they don't seem that bad. Well, they don't seem great, but for example here, it's 171.4 grams a second. And if I check the math on this, and it turns out one wild tree will provide enough wood, like it takes 18 cycles for a wild tree to fully mature. And assuming all the branches are active, one wild tree can support a wood burner constantly. So if I have 2 wild trees, I can throw down 2 wood burners and a carbon skimmer, and that should allow me to, well, take care of the problem and have lots of power. Well, some power. Is that branch going to grow on that? Yeah, they'll grow. And I've already got 1500 in lumber. Yes, that's enough. that should be enough lumber to keep me going for, well, keep one wood burner going for about, what, almost 18 cycles? So I'll give wood burning a try and see how it goes. But first I need to dig down here, get myself some space. Actually, no, I need the algae first. I need to get the algae. That will give me extra oxygen pressure, which will allow me to force down this carbon dioxide cloud. So you know what? We will reduce the priority down here for a little bit. We're going to increase the priority up here, and we're going to get ourselves some algae so that we can start pumping oxygen everywhere. Next, dupe choice, and they're all, well, not all bad. This one's a quick learner, which means they'll learn faster, but they have no relevant skills in ranching or in creativity for art, so they're not really that useful for me. This one has ranching, but they're a slow learner, which will decrease their speed at learning everything else. However, I think I'm just going to have to live with it. So that's dupe number 5. So we get 5 dupes now, and I'm living entirely off muckroot. I have not actually farmed a single thing. Well, okay, I think I got some wild meal lice there. But the dupes just dig so fast. I've been living off, well, what I'm foraging, or what I'm demolishing. Yeah, how's my organics looking? Yep, we've got over a ton of algae. Time to start pumping out some oxygen. And that's oxygen pretty much solved for a fair while. I mean, I've only got about a ton of algae, but there's a little bit more up here, and there's more I'm going to get when I mine through here. So, yeah, I'm covered on oxygen for a fair chunk, and I've even got some of this oxalate still off-gassing. Good times. This map is, I think, having that extra digger really helps with that fast expansion. Yeah, heartily recommend it. Heartily recommend it. Yeah, my next duplicate choice is not so good. Unconstructive, which I don't want. This one just doesn't have anything I need. I'm just going to take the hatch. Unfortunate, but it happens. I'm going to actually set up a carbon skimmer down here just because I think it would be easier to do that and take care of carbon problems for good. That's what I used to do on the temperate maps, and I think on the original temperate map, and I think it's still the way to go. If you don't care about the oxalate plants or those oxyferns, just I find it better to just ignore them. I think if I ignore those and stop trying to harness this CO2 down here and instead just concentrate more on other oxygen sources, I should be able to do this a lot better. What are you doing? Actually, one second. I want to get someone to move in here. I had to deconstruct the door to get in, but if I can get someone in there, that should reveal this area. Also, there's an awful lot of algae back here I would like to get my hands on. That should keep my oxygen supply good for quite a long time to come. Ooh, comfy bed. That's 200 primary element obsidian. Hmm. Yeah, so deconstructing a comfy bed that's found in one of these point of interest places doesn't give you any plastic. Normally, by the time I found them, I'd never cared, but I thought it would be nice if it did work. Oh well. That's also giving me access to a whole bunch of algae. Yeah, I'm just gonna go out and say it. Get lots of diggers at the start. Expand like absolute crazy. You won't regret it. Unless you get really, really badly hurt by something in terms of what you find. It should just be a case of expand, 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 and take everything. We'll take all that algae as well while we're at it. We're going to take every single last scrap, except for the ones touching that chlorine pocket. I maybe don't want to let that out just yet. Okay, so it's cycle 10. Already have 9 tons of algae. I've got 5 dupes going. I've got plenty of space. I'm going to set up a carbon skimmer once I get some of the research done. I'm just trying to get my hands on a water sieve, and I've got brute force refinement already up and running. I'm going to get myself some smart batteries, a water sieve, a carbon skimmer, and throw down some one of those little wood burners. I need the carbon skimmer because those wood burners throw off a lot, and I mean a lot of carbon dioxide. So it should be one there. Oh, two, actually two. One sec. Next dupe up, I got a flatulent and a slow learner, which are not very good. This one has +7 science, so they'll actually learn faster. Their skill leveling will be better, so I think I'll just stick them in for a tinkerer. They'll become my prime tinkerer. They'll get better at it as they go along. That gets me up to 6 dupes. I've also started planting some food up here because I've realized, yeah, I'm actually starting to run out of calories. I've almost completely mined out the starting biome. Well, I've mined out quite a large chunk of it, so I should probably get that food up and running because it does take 3 cycles or so for it to become, well, 3 cycles for it to grow. Let's make that level 6 actually. The When it comes to priorities so far, I have literally only got Weebay and Avon on digging. Everyone else, I've downgraded their build dig and put so they can do everything else. everything else. I don't want, they're the only two dedicated diggers. Everything else goes to all the rest of them. I want them to fill, clean toilets, plant crops, harvest stuff, do all of that stuff. Just because those two diggers and builders are getting most of the work done as is. Yeah, research wise, yeah, we've almost got smart batteries. Once that's done, I'll get a transformer, and that will be, then we can plug in this power, and that will be us on wood power, I believe. We've already got 5100 lumber. We should be good for a long while. And now we're running on lumber. Okay, what I did here was oh, actually, we'll deconstruct that. What I've done at this point is I set up a smart battery and a transformer, and I hooked up the power here. So these three wood burners are hooked up to this battery. This battery feeds into the transformer, well, along with the wood burners, and that feeds into my power grid, just to make sure I don't get any overloads. That's why I included the transformer. You can see there's that bridge hopping across. And then down here we have a two carbon skimmers hooked up to a liquid pump. And what I'm doing is I'm just actually putting in the clean water, sieving it immediately, and then dumping it right back around again. Because thanks to the new changes to the water sieve, it only outputs water at the same temperature you put it in. Therefore, yeah, this is going to come out at what, 19 degrees? Instead of coming out at the 40 it did before. Meaning I don't have to worry about this overheating the place. This is really, really, really nice. Look at that. Carbon skimmer's putting it out at 18 degrees. This conservation of temperature makes temperature management actually easier. Well, simultaneously easier and harder. You don't have to, any heat you do generate you can't dispose of by using these carbon skimmers, but you won't actually generate any heat using them, well, bar what the carbon skimmer itself generates. This is going to make life an awful, awful lot simpler. Anyway, why is that saying I have insufficient resources lumber? I have 5,000, I have lots of lumber. You better get rid of that. One moment, I want to see if there's something wrong here. I might have to deconstruct it and reconstruct that. So to power. I think I'm going to deconstruct it and reconstruct it and see if that makes a difference. But regardless of that wood generator not turning on just now, I should probably cover. This is not an easy thing to set up too early. It's like cycle 15 right about now. To get it up and running, you have to research a lot of tech. For example, you're going to need to get the carbon skimmer, which requires level 2 research. So you're going to need to have a supercomputer. You're also going to need to get your hands on automation wire because we want to automate the power turning on and off. Otherwise, we're just going to be generating lots of wasted power. You're also going to need the water sieve, which is another level 2 tech, which requires two other layers of tech, one of which is the liquid pump, which you're going to need to start filling the pipes anyway. There's the supercomputer tech, the rock granulator, so you can smash up some aluminum or aluminium, depending on where you're in the world you're from, and that will give you refined ores, so you can make refined metal, so that you can make the smart battery and the automation wires. To get the transformer, you need this, which is also another level 2 tech, and to get the smart batteries, you need another level 2 tech up here. That's a lot of research. I mean, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. At least 7 techs are going to have to get, and that's just that's end level techs, not excluding the ones that are precursors to those techs. That's why it takes a while to get up and running, but it is energy efficient. Any excess energy is not wasted. It turns off when the battery gets full. You've got a transformer to stop power overload, so you can just start dumping stuff onto this wire and not caring about it. It's just a handy way to get things started, and by putting these two carbon skimmers down here, I've ensured that I won't end up with carbon dioxide filling up my base. And oxygen-wise, we're fine. Power-wise, we have so much lumber, it's ridiculous. Our lumber's actually still going up, not going down. Oh, and just as a little trick here, oh, I haven't researched them yet. I'm going to put a few hydroponics tiles upside down in here, and I'm going to throw in some of those salt vines so that any chlorine that ends up down here will end up getting eaten by those. New printables. What do we got? Yeah, triophobia is not going to do it for me, and loud sleeper is just too much of an annoyance to deal with. Uh, the only thing is, I don't even want the oxyferns. They're just that. They're great on paper, but in practice, they're just so useless. Oh, I've almost caught up with all the digging. Okay, I'm going to have to queue up an awful lot more digging here. Okay, that'll let me get my hands on some salt vines as well. I just realized I don't have any salt vines in stock. That basically takes care of carbon dioxide. I don't have to worry about that. Once I get a few salt vines down there, I don't have to care about chlorine getting into my base. I might want to just dig some of this out so I can put in some more farms that will let in a little bit of carbon dioxide here. Okay, quite a lot, but I don't have to care about that anymore. That problem is sorted. I think next up we're just going to dive straight into ethanol. I might want to make some wood farms, so I'm going to have to locate some caches of water on this map. Oh wait, there's no slime biomes. There should be salt biomes though, shouldn't there? Salt biomes with water in them? Hmm. Oh, actually, I might want to rethink this. I'm not sure what the water situation is like on this map. Oh yeah, I'll do a bit more digging and exploring, and we'll see what the water's like. Now, I've skipped forward a bit, done some more exploration and several other things, but the one thing I want to cover right now is I didn't get an artist down in time. As in skills here, Poot is going to be my artist, but they've only got 1 point in artistry so far. I'm still waiting for them to level up. So instead, someone in the comments suggested this. It's also a valid strategy. Instead of getting a regular a regular statue, you can make a marble block. And a marble block, even if it has not been touched by an artist, will still have enough of a decor value to give you the Great Hall. So this is just an emergency way of getting yourself a Great Hall. As well as that, the rooms have been changed again. You don't need a light in a mess hall or a stable to actually get the room bonus anymore. I believe light now gives you a bonus to machine operation. I'm not sure if it does it for grooming stations. I'm going to actually have to look that up. If it gives you a bonus to your grooming station speed, yeah, I will definitely be down for that. Now, I'm not going to, I don't really care what level this is at. I'm going to let that get artistry up. But at the end of the day, all I really care about is turning that into a great hall and getting my dupes a little bit of a morale bonus. Now, in terms of polluted water lying around the map, I've realized there won't be any. I'm going to have to create my own polluted water to feed the trees to run this ethanol refinery. I think I've got enough algae that I'm just not going to care. I've got about 5 tons left. I'm going to go strip out a little bit more, and then I'm just going to go straight for the algae refinery. I'm not going to be playing this map long term, otherwise I'd already be started on an electrolyzer setup. I don't want to. I just want to get ethanol hammered out, and then I can move on to the next map and maybe try some of the other mechanics in that one. So I'll skip forward a bit and we'll start building in the ethanol refinery plant. This is just going to be a rough design, so to speak. I'm not going to be trying anything too crazy. I'm just going to have a tiny little collection pool here for the polluted water that comes off it. More of a proof of concept more, than anything else. It takes 4 ethanol distilleries to give 100% uptime to a petroleum generator. I'm not going to fit in 4 because I made the coal generators a bit close. There was a piece of mealwood in the way and I just wasn't bothered. Also, I don't really need that much power. About half the power you generate is going to go back into actually generating more power for the system, so you only get about half the power out. Let's hook that up there. And let's make sure the automation wires are in place. No, absolutely zero automation. And automation is in place. Now, there's been a lot of changes to the petroleum boiler. For one thing, it used to be you keep a petroleum boiler nice and cold, all of its outputs would be the same temperature as the building. That is no longer the case. Now it will always output at 40 degrees. Well, let's actually change temperature a bit below the 40 because those tiles are a little bit chilly down here. The whole atmosphere is chilly. But effectively all the outputs of the petroleum generators are 40 degrees or 40 C or higher. And by that I mean if the petroleum generator gets above 40 degrees, then the polluted water coming out of it is going to be above 40 degrees. Yeah, not ideal. Now, you basically just want to keep this chill, which is why I've been trying to ranch some glossy Dracos. What am I at here? What's your percentage chance of dropping a glossy egg? Seriously? Only 35 already? What have I got in here? Yeah, I think I've put in all the Dreklet eggs. I'm using unpowered incubators. Actually that's a whole other side project we're not getting into. Okay. So I've got three of these ethanol distilleries. Each one produces about 500 grams of ethanol. Petroleum generator, well, actually they're not petroleum generators. Well, still called a petroleum generator. Okay, petroleum generators consume 2 kilos per second of burnable liquid, let's call it. So 3 of these won't support it, you need 4. But with 4 of them, you get 2 kilowatts of power. However, it takes 1 kilowatt of power almost to run the 4 ethanol distilleries. To get the ethanol distilleries running, you need 1 tree for each of them, so you're going to need 4 of these arbor trees, and that's assuming you've got those arbor trees actually farmed, as in you're giving them polluted water and phosphorite. Phosphorite, thankfully, is hugely common. I've got 18 tons of it already, and there's plenty more around the map. Also, it's renewable from Dracos. So what you can, and the polluted water that comes out of this, you get 500 grams of polluted water per second out of a petroleum generator when it's operating. So basically, you can feed that back into the arbor trees. This has all been covered pretty early on, actually. A lot of people covered how these things are basically an infinitely scalable resource. The only downside is the alcohol comes out at, or the ethanol comes out at 70 degrees or 73. It's just below boiling point, which is kind of annoying to deal with. That's why I've stuck it in this insulated box. But on the bright side, well, to really use this effectively, you're going to need to get your hands on some sort of cooling solution early. And by cooling solution, I'm not talking about, say, well, what is those things called? Those icy fans and ice makers, they're not really going to cut it. I'm sure you could get it to work, it just would be really painful. Your best bet for a good cooling solution would be steam turbines. That's pretty much it. The only good cooling solution left is steam turbines. Now, one last thing. The arbor tree itself, its body temperature can be between 15 to 40 for it to actually function correctly. So if you start feeding it water from the generator, it might be it'll eventually get a little bit too toasty for it. So you might have to chill it just by 1 degree or do some minor cooling, but that shouldn't be too big of a deal. Power-wise, all I'm doing with this is I have one conductive wire going across here, feeding into two transformers. One of them feeds back into here so that this keeps going, and one of them feeds across to here to keep the rest of my base running. Which reminds me, I should probably take this off the grid. That's 90/40. What's this set to? 100/0. No, you're going to be 50. That way the petroleum generator will keep charging up the network, and this is going to keep draining power, should it? Actually, you know what? I'm going to demolish all these wood burners entirely. We don't want them anymore. They're wasting wood that could be more profitably served by turning it into ethanol. Now, I think that covers most of it. I've gone up to 8 duplicants. Let's see. Yeah, so I think I hired Poot to be my artist, and I've hired Bubbles to be my second rancher. Oh, Omar, how's Omar doing? Yeah, they're going straight into that. And Prop Joe, you will be going. Actually, you're going to be going into cooking. Now, this is getting to about the point in the game where you're going to be transitioning over to, well, exosuits for everyone and getting everyone into exosuits. I would probably hold out on getting this until I've got exosuits. It's fine, it's easy to set up, but you really need a steam turbine to take full advantage of this because the steam turbine will allow you to get in some decent cooling. Because if this petroleum generator starts going above 40 degrees, you're going to start generating hot, polluted water, and it's just going to be a vicious feedback loop. I mean, already this petroleum generator is up to 16 degrees, and it's not even active all the time, and that's only going to get worse. Um, I don't even know why I'm checking this. Oh, pips. Yeah, I'm going to be finishing this map and going on to the next one shortly afterwards. This is the regular pip ranch I was going on about. That's almost up and ready. Actually, I'm going to use debug speed. I should really be using debug speed when I'm doing all these test maps. So that should start actually multiplying my arbor tree population. Though I've got several wild ones around the place, I think I'm going to start demolishing some of the ones that are not getting. Actually, you can go. So I did a little cutout here so that I could, I'm going to cut out some of the stuff I put in yesterday. I've had time to sleep on this and a bit more time to think about the map, and I rambled a bit in my last one. Yes, me rambling, I know. A couple of things I just want to cover about this map. One, I think this map is actually easier than the Verdant map set. It's the slime biomes, you see. That's what it dawned on me. Because of the lack of slime biomes, I basically just expand like crazy. I can just demolish through everything that gets in my way. I can effectively go straight up through here, rip out all the coal, all the algae, everything. I don't have to care. There's no slime lung. Because of that, this is basically a delayed Terra map. After about cycle 5, when you get your first skill point into digging, and Weebay and Avon got into hard digging, that was it. I was able to ramp up crazily, push straight out of my starting biomes, and just start demolishing everything. Without any slime or germs to hold you back, as in, there's no germs on this map. It just dawned on me, there's none. Zero. You do not have to worry about contamination. And there's nothing hot enough to actually scald your dupes. And all you have to worry about is the coal biome. So you can just rip through things, makes things so much faster, so much simpler. And these new salt vines, sticking these at the bottom of your base, yeah, no need to worry about a little bit of chlorine getting into your base. A little bit of chlorine gets in, doesn't matter, it'll end up down here eventually, and when it does, it'll get eaten by the vines, safe and protected. Carbon skimmers, very good. Those wood burners, not going to use them ever again. They're freaking terrible. Power-wise on this map, I would definitely go with coal. Reason being, I have 15 tons of coal. It's cycle 34, I have 15 tons of coal, and there was no coal in my starting biome. There is plenty more coal out there for me to be grabbing. There's nodes here, more there, more there, more over here. Not a problem. Getting one of these up, don't bother. I would not bother getting up one of these early. Wait until you get yourself a steam turbine. As for food, mealwood to start is grand, and then later on you can switch over to meat if you want on the pips or hatches. You've got so many options, it's ridiculous. This map is easy to start. The only downsides, lack of the gold amalgam and lack of large pockets of polluted water. That hurts. If I went straight into my electrolyzer setup that I was aiming for, I would be in a small spot of bother because the only water sources out on the map I can draw upon are, well, basically salt water. That's it. And the only way to refine that is with a desalinator. Where are you? Oh, great, I don't have it researched yet. But yes, the desalinator takes, I think it's 480 watts. It's about, yeah, 4 times the power of a water sieve. So you can't really make it self-powered along with you won't be able to run a self-powered oxygen maker that actually can still support the water sieve. So you'll need to dump a little bit of extra power into it. But not the biggest inconvenience considering that you can dig out there really quickly. The biggest takeaway, use 2 diggers. Using 2 digs at the start is amazing. I've got a Weebay here. What are they up to? Excavation 16. They have level 16 excavation and it's cycle 34 plus 400% to digging speed. They can dig 5 times faster than a base dupe. Avon here, a little bit behind because I gave them some brains to start with, but they actually leveled up slightly faster in skill points. Turns out they actually level up in athletics a little bit faster, and this is a known thing. If your dupes have higher athletics, they get to their jobs quicker. When dupes are in between jobs, they don't gain their skills as quickly or their experience. So if we check Weebay and Avon here, you'll see Avon is just slightly ahead. Well, if that picture can get away, was it a 5227 versus 4812? I don't think it really makes that much of a difference. But a quick learner with +7 digging or a mole hands with +7 digging, either way, get 2 of those or mix and match, expand like crazy. This map is pretty easy that way. Now, one last thing is this new building that's actually started to become useful now. It is a nature reserve. All it needs is nature reserve here. All you need is 4 wild plants, no industrial machinery, between 32 to 120 tiles in size, +6 morale. Basically, it's a great hall that only takes 4 wild plants in it. So you basically need 4 natural tiles. If I was going to do this again, I would actually probably put it in here, right beside my printing pod, because it's really close to where you start, and just sticking a few plants there, and there's not really much else I'm going to do with that room. But yeah, that's +6 morale, and they seem to have fixed it so my dupes are actually using it. If I check people's morale here, yeah, Great Hall, Nature Reserve, that's +12. Just from the Great Hall and the Nature Reserve, they're getting +12. Prop Joe missed out. How did Prop Joe miss out? Never mind. Oh yeah, I accidentally demolished a tree here and had to move the walls to let in the mirth leaf. These things, super handy. I haven't even got into decor yet, and if you look at my dupes are already at 16, 17 decor, and I'm only feeding them on mealwood. The removal of fixed temperature output on water sieves and carbon skimmers means you don't even care when you start running them. These used to be called a noob trap because the moment you started using them, you were dumping 40-degree liquids into your base, which usually overheated things and killed all your crops. Now, I still stick them at the bottom of my base, but that's only because they're nice and close and conveniently together. You don't have to worry too much. In fact, if you wanted, you could stick a water sieve in here and just basically run your toilets on it, sieve the polluted water. You'll get germy clean water you can run back into your toilets and a little bit of excess. Not a fan of that myself. Like I said before, don't like putting germy clean water into toilets and sinks. I just know they're going to patch that out at some point. Other good things, rust biome. If we just check on consumable ores here, where is it? At rust. 97 tons of rust, 4 tons of salt. I could easily set up a few of these. No, how have I not researched those yet? You could easily set up some of those oxygen. Where are we? These ones, rusty oxidizers. They're really low down in the tech tree, easy to get your hands on. Set up some rusty oxidizers and you're good to go if you really get desperate for oxygen. If you get stuck for algae or something like that. Now, a couple of things to note about them. Actually, I'm just going to turn on debug mode. Okay, that felt kind of dirty to do, but let's see. Rusty oxidizer. Grab one of these, and it drops out chlorine, chlorine and iron. But the chlorine is important here because what you can do is you can literally say get rid of that, We'll get rid of you, deconstruct. And we'll put in some mesh tiles. Okay, you can see this running now, and you'll actually notice there's actually liquid dripping out of the bottom of it. That is chlorine, liquid chlorine. For some reason, it doesn't actually output chlorine gas, it outputs chlorine liquid, which is useful because that means you can, by placing mesh tiles here, it just drops straight down, hits the bottom, and then our salt vines will eventually take care of it when it does get up high enough to encounter them. So we'd say a little bit of smart play. You could basically place one there, place one above it, place one above that, or one or two is all you need. I did a bit of quick math, and with that much salt, I can support it. I can run this for 27 days. So that's 27 days of 570 grams of oxygen. Pretty nice. Pretty nice. Now, one thing to note is the iron ore that it's spitting out comes out at about 70 degrees. That's a problem. These things started emitting iron ore, 400 grams a second. It basically means it's turning the rust into some iron ore, chlorine, and oxygen. I don't know how we're getting more mass out than we put in, but hey, let's not argue with it. They know what they're doing most of the time. So you're going to have to deal with a lot of heat from these, so I'd prefer to still avoid them. I much prefer using the algae deoxidizers. We check the temperature here. It heats up the area a little bit, but what, like 29 degrees? Yeah, I'm not going to cry over that. It's pretty easy to deal with temperature differentials like that. You can let that run along for quite some time before it's going to cause you any serious issues. However, you start dumping out 400 grams of iron ore that's coming in at 70 degrees with a specific heat capacity of 0.449, and you keep doing that constantly, yeah, it's going to heat up the area pretty quickly. These might need some nerfing on the heat they actually produce, or buffing on the whatever way you want to think of it. Um, oh yeah, the amount of polluted water this thing outputs is actually enough to feed 4 trees that will support it. They're self-sustained, this whole little loop. Still, wait for steam turbine. Anything else left to talk about? Yeah, on this map, very strapped for renewable water on the start. If I just break this open here, I checked some of these nearby vents once I went into debug mode. That's a carbon dioxide vent, useless. This was a volcano, also not going to be very useful. Cool steam vents, which are handy, but cool steam vents have basically they're much more nerfed now than they used to be. Just by nature of having them, the way they've nerfed cooling, meaning you put water into, say, we used to be able to put this water into a carbon skimmer, and it would come out as 40-degree polluted water. We can then take that 40-degree polluted water, sieve it, and get out 40-degree clean water. Then a tiny bit of cooling, and you've got 30-degree water, good enough for farming or whatever you want. Now you take this 100-degree, well, it's going to come out at about 95, 96 degrees is what you're going to get it down to. You dump that through a carbon skimmer and a water sieve, it's still 95-degree water. You can't destroy all that heat. It used to be really handy to destroy vast quantities of heat that way. Because those simple methods are gone, cool steam vents are really terrible now. They really are bad. Getting your hands on one of them, you're going to have to spend an enormous amount of power to actually cool them down to anything useful. Oh my god, chlorine vent. Oh yeah, I'm actually going to check something here. Before I delete the map, that is about 35 cycles worth of digging. Well, okay, I could have dug out more if I didn't waste my time building that ethanol distillery. Get to dig dupes. So a quick vacuum of the map, and there was actually 4 water sources on this map. We got saltwater geyser, saltwater geyser. Over here we've got a water geyser, and where was the fourth one? Yeah, over here. Nope, wrong one. There was a fourth one somewhere around. So there's about 10 kilos of water on this map. There's also 3 volcanoes, 1 copper and 2 iron, 3 oil wells. Water's not going to be a problem on these maps. It's just a case of you'll have to find it if you get squeezed at the start. But there is plenty of these salt biomes with lots of water in them, so you can generally get by on that, I'd say, for quite some time. Um, Differences between this and the verdant biome is basically the slime. The lack of slime makes it easier to expand, but will hurt you more getting an electrolyzer up. If I had to choose between the two, I would actually much prefer this start. The verdant map was fine, but this one much easier to expand. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this, and good luck.